Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and of course, I'm here with my co-host for the day, Fuzzy Belvedere. Folks, we have a couple of really cool topics to get into. One is a rumor that I have corroborated with three different sources. We'll talk about where the original posting came from and who it actually came from. We also have the game of what's on Phil Spencer's shelf, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what? I think you're gonna like it because I've already put it out there in the socials, and I'm buying it the second it becomes available. Hopefully, there'll be no pre-orders for this thing. You could literally just make it as you see fit on Xbox Design Labs, like we've done with other ones. Because again, that just gets in the way of having to reserve. And obviously, if you can make it yourself, boom, awesome. We're also going to get into a fun topic. Now, you've heard me. This topic predates this show by years. And if you remember, I used to hang out with I originally founded the Xbox Factor podcast with the Welsh Gamer. And the Welsh Gamer and I, this is going back years. We have always have asked that, or more specifically, put out there into the ether that Xbox needs its own kart racer. And a perfect example of that back then was the success of Nintendo's very own kart racer. And obviously, Mario Kart 8 released on the Wii U that sold probably like 10 million copies. It didn't even sell a lot. The console didn't sell a lot. But the game was then re-released onto the Switch 2, and it's one of the best-selling games on that platform. And now we're at an era, Fuzzy Belvedere, where Xbox has so many IPs. It's almost egregious that they don't have their own racer. And more importantly, and we'll get into this in a second, they own two of the best racing studios in the freaking business. So before we get into those three topics, I want to welcome everybody that's here. Again, folks, I'm hearing some big things are happening this week for Xbox. We're going to get into at least one of them. We'll see what happens on the back end of it. But Fuzzy Belvedere, good afternoon, kind sir. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here. Yeah, it's been a pretty stacked month as far as for Xbox in general, but yeah, there's some games releasing this week. If you didn't do the early access on, definitely dive into those this week. But we also got, I think, Towerborn coming later this month. And like you said, there might be some sort of shadow drop or something coming, but yeah, there's just so many games coming from Xbox Studios and some of their partnered platform or platform partners, I guess you could say, that are coming out this month as well as next month. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty busy time for us gamers out there to take down that backlog if we haven't already.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So listen, let's start off with the fun one. You heard me talking about this seconds ago. Again, going all the way predating this particular show in the 5 shows I do weekly. I started out with originally Breakfast at Boom, followed by the Xbox Factor podcast. That, in fact, was the second live stream that I used to do, once a week, like we do here. And then eventually, now we have a parade of shows, like almost like it's syndication, where Monday through Friday we have live streams, and I love doing it. It gives me a lot to do, and I get a chance to hang out with you guys and gals 5 days a week. So it's, oh my goodness, it's so much fun for me. But Fuzzy Belvedere, look, kart racers go all the way back to where it started, and that was, of course, on the original, Super Nintendo with Mario Kart. Mario Kart came out, and it did something for fans of the Mario series where we were transported into realms made of racetracks of some of the most infamous or infamous boards through Nintendo. And of course, one of the most popular ones, one of my personal favorites, and I'm not the only one, is the Rainbow Bridge, right? That has seen numerous iterations over the years, and it just continues to get better and better and better. So obviously, one of the biggest announcements, and there were quite a few last week, all surrounding Nintendo. Of course, the delay of the pre-orders that was supposed to happen on the 9th due to this tariff situation really soured a lot of fans like me who want the console, but can't justify having to pay $750 for a console that was originally going to be 500 bucks. So I'm not buying one if it's going to be that price. For myself, I will hold out until this tariff situation works its way out. But outside of that negative news, one of the biggest announcements was Mario Kart World. Now, we all thought it was going to be either 9 or X, right? That was the original thought theory. And it turns out that it's Mario Kart World, and it does things. And I know there's a lot of people like, hey, boom, what's the big deal? We drive around all over the place in Forza Horizon 5. And yep, I get it. They did it. They're originators of it, but this has never been seen before or done before, for that matter, on a Mario Kart. So it is kind of a big deal. It is honestly a big deal. The free mode or the open world mode is pretty cool, and you get to hang out. Like, for instance, I'd get to hang out with my nephew, talking, and just hanging out playing Mario Kart. See, that's important to me. May not be important to you, but that's fine. So how does this whole Mario Kart world involve Xbox? Well, look, if you ever wanted to see what an Xbox IP character looks like behind the wheel of a racer, you don't have to look too far, folks, because you could look to Sega's All Star Racing for the Xbox 360. I have the copy right here, where Banjo Kazooie was in the game. And that is, of course, an Xbox character. Now, Banjo Kazooie has been in Smash. He has been a part of the Sega, the Sega Rally or the Sonic Racers. He's obviously a big part of Xbox. He just doesn't have a new game, so it can happen, right? And Fuzzy, listen, I bring this to your doorstep because I really kind of want to just drop this in your lap because you are one of the best people to speak to when it comes to racers. And I think that again, maybe I'm just being a little facetious here, but I find it to be a bit egregious that, as great as Xbox Game Pass is, right? As great as Xbox Game Studios are, there are some things missing from both from the platform itself and from the streaming service. And I've always been a big fan of this. Now, again, I don't denounce myself as being a nerd. I like family games. I know a lot of people only want bro shooters, which you have on your screen. And if that's your thing, I'm not going to fight you on it. But I like platformers and I love kart racers. I really enjoyed the nitro fueled ones with Crash. I've played some of the other ones, the Nickelodeon one with Tyler. We've had fun with those. Obviously, we're Mario Kart nuts, so we play that all the time. But I think that there's an opportunity here, just looking and reading the room, Fuzzy. Right now, there is no denying that Xbox Game Studios owns two of the premier racing studios in gaming. There is no one better than Turn 10 and Playground Games. That is a fact, folks. We've seen many racers come out before it, and the ones that still stand the test of time are both Forzas, both versions of Forza by Turn 10 and Playground Games. Now, this is just a suggestion from me, thinking about where do you get the talent, Fuzzy? Where could you absolutely find the talent to make this? Because we know that Phil Spencer and the decision makers aren't going to quote unquote force anyone to make a game. So we're not going to see Phil come down and say, "Hey, Turn 10, you know what? Make this game right now because we want to make money." Because again, a kart racer that is not free to play, but could, and again, I'm putting on the business hat here, folks, and I know the virtual tomatoes are coming out. They could make money on these. This does not have to be a one and done release. They could sell you outfits. They could sell you carts. There's ways to do it that obviously don't gouge the consumer, but make you want, like for instance, Call of Duty. A lot of people don't like the stupid outfits. Guess what? I'm running around with a guy with a flaming skull and antlers. Maybe that's not your thing. It's my thing. I happen to really like it. So there you go. But I think that if an internal memo went out and said, hey, we're looking to put a small team together, and it goes out to Turn 10, and it goes out to, Toys for Bob, and it goes out to Playground Games, anyone interested in making a kart racer, I think there would be a lot of people to raise their hand, because kart racers are a thing, and they have been for decades.
Yeah.
Do you think we're at a time in gaming, specifically Xbox gaming, that it's about time that they get a kart racer? What are your thoughts on this, man? And I want you to kind of dive deep into this, because there's no one better to have this conversation than Fuzzy Belvedere.
I appreciate that. Like for me, I think it would be like a no-brainer for them to put something like this forward, and even if it's on the smallest scale possible, like Forza Horizon 5 has basically a lot of customization, very similar to like a Forge mode when it comes to Halo. Give us the tools at least to create these like kart type vehicles, and if it means we're just using our avatars from Forza in the beginning, and then integrate like different costumes, much like you can with Forza Horizon. You can be a orange safety cone, or a cup of coffee, or a variety of different skins that they have, that they don't sell as like microtransactions. They're like more like unlocks from you playing the game or participating in a certain special event type of deal. If they just started with at least that to kind of gauge the community feedback, as well as the engagement that they may pick up from that, I would say they should definitely start off at least at that level. But in the grand scheme of things, what I ultimately would like to see from a kart racer within the Xbox platform is something more on par with like the Mario Kart, but not just doing like a carbon copy type of deal where you're using all of your IP characters. Although the IP characters would be great, they kind of squandered the opportunity with the new avatars that they created in Unreal Engine that I think they're in the process of discontinuing or removing from the platform. Like that would have been an easy way to get more bang for buck out of those characters that we've created, to replace the old avatars. But integrating something along those lines would have made sense, because a lot of people bought shirts or hats or different clothing items for their avatar. So the microtransactions in that regard is one phase of it, but also the different carts that they could have, where it may not be any more of an advantage having a warthog styled racing cart, but there are people that would probably pay a couple of bucks to have that, or have something in the theme of an airplane. If they're a flight sim fan, it doesn't actually fly, but it has like little mini wings that aren't going to really hinder or help per se, in the racing aspect. But it would be a visual cue kind of thing that, oh, they got a special cart because they're a big fan of flight sim or something along those lines. But there's so much that they could do, where I don't think they would even really need to force the issue of having a dev within their walls having to do it, or making them do that. I think there would be either well, I wouldn't say volunteers, because they're still going to want to get their paycheck for working, but
of course,
I would say there's those that would probably want to participate in that project, and if not within their walls, possibly commissioning, like you said, something like Toys for Bob, or even going to their partners in, not partners in crime, but their partners in many different facets. Go to Sega, and having them use that same team that did it for not the Crash Racing series, but like for the Sonic Racing series or kart racers and stuff. So they have, I wouldn't say unlimited resources, but they have plenty of resources that they can tap for a team that can be dedicated to that. But they also have somewhat have the tools already out there within Forza Horizon 5, just not the ability to change it from regular cars, or maybe slight change to the physics in making them karts, or something miniaturized so you can have a caricature kind of sitting in a scrunched down type of car to make it look like a cart. I think that would be, something that they should try, at least in that forge like mode. I keep on forgetting what they call it. It used to be where you could do like the custom tracks, but now you can do so much more with the track layouts and things like that, and add like almost like bounce jumps and
Yeah.
different barriers and tunnels and whatnot. So having more tools leaning towards that, I think, would be an awesome thing to try. And now, considering Forza Horizon 5 is going over to the PlayStation, you have a large audience that, you know, they don't have their own like kart racer either. Not
Mm-hmm.
saying that we, basically hand that to them, but that would guarantee that you have a player base that would be able to, bring up the engagement numbers, potentially be buying skins or other microtransactions, which would help with their funding for other projects down the road, type of thing. But yeah, there's so much potential between Turn 10 and Playground Games, but also some of their partners that they work with on a regular basis, whether it's, stuff for Crash Bandicoot and that racer that they had, or even with the Sonic, team racer type of deal. I think it would be a golden idea. It may not, set records like some of the, Mario Kart ones, but I think it would be a very good response, considering the investment versus what they would probably get out of it in the long run, or even in the short term. They would probably, make a good bit more money from their investment in comparison to some other projects that, instead of like a copy and paste kind of, battle royale type of deal, I think that would be the better one to give a try. But, if they could somehow rescue the avatars that they're about ready to cancel, and integrate that even, I think it's a win-win all around.
I mean, again, when I make these suggestions, I love coming at it from the angle of a gamer, right? Just simplistic nerd gamer who has been a fan of kart racers and fighters and platformers outside of, the games that are making the money, right? We all know that free to play games are where all these companies want to be because of things like Fortnite, Apex Legends. Marvel Rivals is a perfect example of a perfect storm in a way that I don't think we could have ever guessed that it was going to be this good, right? And all that you hear about is this game. And sadly enough, I have yet to even pick up a controller and play. I have it downloaded, and I want to use someone like the Punisher and Venom and some of my favorite Marvel characters. I just haven't had the time to play it, and that's a shame. But what I like to do in these instances, because I know that people from Xbox listen to the show, and we're very grateful that anyone would take the time to check out a show that doesn't even have 16,000 subscribers. Like, we're still incredibly tiny for a show, and to be involved in conversations with Microsoft and Bethesda and other developers and publishers is really big deal for us. So I like to try and come at this not only from a gamer's point of view. I like to kind of come at this from let's put on the business hat for a second. And where I put the business hat on, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is because, again, we're in an era where in a game called Fortnite, you can have on any playing field people playing as Darth Vader, Goku, Indiana Jones, Superman, Captain America, a Ninja Turtle. Like, it is bonkers, right? That works. And what gets removed from this conversation is having to pay for the use of licensing IPs. See, Xbox doesn't need to do that. They own Activision, they own Bethesda, and they have Xbox Game Studios. And I just want to give a shout out to, where is it here? I believe it's Death 3 in the chat. He says this: the Halo Ring or the Hell level from Doom or Oblivion Gate inspired levels would be different with all of their IPs. They could also do a Tony Hawk in a skateboard. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, and again, folks, I know I'm being super nerdy with this, and this is not the biggest topic of the show. We're going to get to the big ones in a second, but I do think, and again, I'm passionate about this stuff, and maybe it's not everyone's bag. Maybe you don't give a flying hoot nanny about Mario Kart or any kart racer for that matter. I understand. If you want to tune out, not a problem. Again, this is a nerdy kind of a topic, but Fuzzy, because licensing is not a problem, something we know that Phil Spencer doesn't like to do because they don't have control. They don't have ownership. They don't have control. And I absolutely, from a business point of view, understand that. This is different, though. This is way different because they have control. They own all of these IPs, and you don't have to release 60 tracks day one. You don't have to do that. You could release 15 tracks, and the tracks can be designed on the first 15 racers, right? You can have seasons. You can have season pass. Hey, season pass, whatever. You get these 4 new tracks, these 4 new characters, and you can buy parts for your I mean, again, from the business point of view, there's an ability to make money here, so the development costs can be justified by having it. But you can have a level from Gears, a level from Fallout, a level from Doom. I mean, pick your favorite flavor. So from the business aspect, Fuzzy, there is a way to make money and absolutely justify why people would be subscribed to your service, of course, Game Pass, but why they would spend the money, because this is something that is hot. And it's not like they're going to Toys for Bob for development. They have the studios. They just have to get people from within those studios to work on this. And I think if they polled them, if they literally sent out an email saying, hey, anybody interested, I think you would have a lot of people sign up. Let's get your final thoughts on the business aspect.
Yeah, you're right. With the key thing with them not having to spend outside dollars for licensing from all the IP that they have would be probably the best starting point that they have, where they don't have to go to like Marvel or Disney or things like that to be able to get licensing. But you can open the door for collaborations. You could have it where, Sonic and Crash and, maybe your partners over at Nintendo have Mario come over, or maybe a Mario Universe character be a selectable character as well, much like we've talked about having things like Master Chief and possibly Smash Brothers or something like that. They already have Steve from Minecraft and stuff. So you have that collaboration. And as I think it was Boss or Ross or somebody in the chat may mention, they've already done collaborations with Hot Wheels and Lego. So
yes,
you could have those tracks for that, and it would actually seem like a better fit with those types of cars. So the possibilities are endless, both with collaborations and the starting IPs that they already own, and some of them that they're not currently using. Like having a Banjo-Kazooie, like, yes, I know you want the actual game or more recent iteration of that game, but having that character, and let's say they get the feedback that a lot of people are buying that skin, that tells them directly that there is still interest in that character for a sequel or potential reboot to that series. So they have it helps them with metrics. It helps them not having to shell out a lot of money for IP, since they already own a lot of IPs. They have the collaborations that they can work out with partners that they've already used, like Hot Wheels or Lego, and they've already worked well with other collaborations within things that we see in Game Pass, and I think that's something that would, one, be able to be easy to advertise or market as far as bringing people to the platform. Or if this is a multi-plat title, you have access now to the Switch 2 audience. You have access to the PlayStation 5 audience. You have plenty of access to the PC audience, as well as your current audience on Xbox. So yeah, from a business standpoint, I would say it's a no-brainer, or it's an easy green light project. But sometimes the things that seem to make the most sense don't always work out. But yeah, I think it would definitely be a good business move, because you can, gauge interest in IPs that may have been dormant for a while. You can do business collaborations, like having a skate park track or scenery from the skate parks and things like that for some of the tracks. Plus, some of the collaborations you've done within some of your own IPs that would work well within that range. So yeah, it's a great business case, I think. It comes down to which team or the people that would want to participate in that project.
Yes.
As long as it's not taken away from, let's say, Forza Horizon 6.
There you go. And I get it. I get it. Make a third team. That's what I say.
I'm pretty sure you could get a strong enough team without it taking away from other current or near future projects. And it would be something meaningful at the end that they, one, would be proud of the results, and two, can still make money off of, which I know that's not always our concern, but them making money off of a live service like that continues that they will be able to reinvest that into other projects or other devices and the studios that make the games that we enjoy. So good business all around.
One final thought before we get on to topic number 2, and I didn't see it. It didn't see it asked, so I'm going to throw it out there. Yes, this would be multi-plat from day one. And here's why. Because they're working with PlayStation right now. They're working with Nintendo right now. Now you say, well, why would Nintendo want an Xbox racer? Maybe Nintendo doesn't want direct competition, and maybe they don't release it on Switch, which I don't think would be a great idea, because they could actually use some characters that were exclusive to the Switch version. That would also work for the PlayStation side of things. They could get exclusive characters. Now, I'm not saying that's the route they're going to go, but if the question was asked, and I didn't see it was asked, so I'm answering if I missed it, this would be a multi-platform release. And why would they want to do that? Well, because they'd be making money. And again, this is putting on the business hat. I know that sometimes people don't want to talk about that, but ultimately gaming, as great as fun as it is for us, it is ultimately a business. And if this was a multi-plat release on Steam, Nintendo Switch 2, Xbox Series X and X, and PlayStation 5 Pro and regular, you would get a lot of people playing this game. And you'd get a lot of people spending money on this game, justifying why it needed to be created and why it should exist. Again, I'll end it there. But again, nerdy conversation, folks. I absolutely admit I'm a big old nerd for this kind of stuff. Thank you for taking 20-something minutes of your time to listen to it. If you agree, great. If you disagree, not a problem. We can still be friends. But I really want Xbox to take advantage of their IPs. And I think a kart racer would be a great freaking way to do it. But before we get to the super chats, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to just present something. Now, again, obviously, you know that we're a small channel. And when other companies want to work with you, not only is it a privilege, but it's an honor. And we have the honor of representing the Volare Gaming Pillow. And I had a new commercial made up, and I finally found the track that best suits it. So I cut the music myself. Obviously, Sean Labrie is the one that made the original 30-second video. And of course, this is an advertisement for the Volare Gaming Pillow, but it's not just their pillow. It's the double barrel gaming pillow. And again, folks, I know that it may not be a big deal for you, but we're such a small channel to have a corporation and they're mom and pop like us, hey, reach out and say, hey, we want to team up. We want to deliver our gaming pillow, but we want to make one for you, for your channel to represent Double Barrel Gaming. Honestly, it's kind of like a dream come true, folks. So take a look at the new Double Barrel Gaming pillow from Volare. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Volare Gaming Pillow commercial made by the incredibly talented Sean Labrie. I cut the music myself, and again, no copyright problems because I pay for a website $200 a year in order to get my own music from their site, and the channel is now listed, so we're good to go. If you saw the pillow and you were interested in it, you can use the code DBG15 at checkout, and you will save 15% off of your total order. And the reason why we started doing the commercial again is because the pillow is now back in stock, ladies and gentlemen. So now is your opportunity to get in there and buy the pillow. I actually have two. One is for me, the original one that I got as to show it off. The deal working with Tyler, who is a part of that commercial. Tyler was like, Theo, I'll do the commercial, but I want the pillow. So, of course, I can't deny that kid anything. And he using the pillow, not now because he's in school, but when he games, he does use the pillow, which is pretty cool to actually see. But thank you so much for checking that out. Now, Fuzzy, before we get into the second topic, and this is, of course, Shelf Watch for Phil Spencer, which we all know and love is always fun. We actually have literally visual confirmation from multiple people, but the source that I used was Ecstasies, who I absolutely think is one of the most nicest people, but he's also incredibly connected. And of course, Ecstasies, if you don't know who he is a Spanish YouTuber from Spain. I've had him on the show a couple of times. Great content creator, very connected. Well, he obviously spotted something first before a lot of people did. We'll get into where he spotted it and what it is in a second. Let me just catch up on the super chats here. We have a couple of them. And the first one of the day comes the way of a gifted sub from our very generous brother known as Do You K Now, the Broke Boy Insider. Has gifted one double barrel gaming. Will, I am sorry I didn't get a chance. I fell asleep like an old man. We got to get down. I just hit Prestige 10 on Call of Duty Black Ops 6, folks. It was a long road to get there. Now I just have to finish the Prestige 10, and I'm actually going to get that achievement. I'm so proud of myself because this game has my soul. I absolutely love Call of Duty, and as you can see, some matches I'm just unstoppable. Others, the old man, skills pop out. But Will, thank you so much for the generosity, brother, and we would definitely play at some point this week. But appreciate the generosity. Lord Roughness drops a very generous £5 super chat. And he goes on to say, hey, Boom, hey, Fuzzy, I sold my Steam Deck 64 gig, and now I'm enjoying the Asus or the Asus ROG Ally X. I figured this will do for me until the 2027 Xbox handheld. Brother, that's a great call. I mean, the ROG Ally X, the battery life is way better. And of course, I don't know, what the innards, how much better it is than the original, but at some point that Xbox UI is going to be downloadable to every handheld. So technically, you will own an Xbox handheld because it's going to run like an Xbox, which is freaking awesome. But thank you so much for the generosity, brother, and congratulations on your new console. We have Dragon Wolf, who's been a channel member for a whopping 15 months. Dragon Wolf, salute to you, kind sir. Thank you for the generosity. He says they should get Rare's input as they did a great job with Diddy Kong Racing on the N64. Did you guys and gals know that I looked this up? They are remaking Diddy Kong Racing. Now, I don't know what happened to it. It was supposedly in development, and it just maybe they're going to move that to the Switch too. But Diddy Kong Racing was freaking awesome. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but I do, and that was also a really great racer. But Dragon Wolf, appreciate you being here, brother, and thank you so much for the support. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he goes on to say, "Boom. The question is, what draws people to kart racing? Is it the game type or the characters? Would people be willing to buy an Xbox IP racer?" That's a great question. Why buy it? Like, I mean, are you referring to like on PlayStation? Why buy an Xbox kart racer? That's a good question. What I would say to that is, why buy Indiana Jones on PlayStation 5? Right? Like why buy Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation 5? Because they don't have those experiences there. And even though there technically would be an Xbox racer, would it though? Because if you had characters like, for instance, Ghost is driving a mini tank around on the track, right? That's Call of Duty. Same thing with like, I mean, I understand for Halo and even then, and you know what? I actually have a thought that just literally popped into my mind because Xbox is going third party. And again, I know this doesn't sit with a lot of people, including myself. Like, it's still weird to even suggest that Forza is going over. There's going to be a point where Halo, Forza, and Gears are going to be on PlayStation, folks. And that's just a reality. So technically, it really wouldn't be. I mean, they originate as Xbox characters, but them going third party kind of opens up the door to put a kart racer out there. Because what if somebody on PlayStation? And I'm not talking about the console warriors. I'm not talking about the 4% of hardcore gamers. I'm talking about the normies. If you are someone that buys 3 games a year and you're in the chat right now, I would consider you a little bit. You're not a normie, but maybe you only buy 3 games a year, 4 games at max, right? Let's say this is a PlayStation gamer. They're old enough where they started on the PlayStation 4 because that's a thing, right? That's their first console. They love PlayStation. Maybe even go back 10 years and say they started on PlayStation 3. That's what they like. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to like PlayStation. And they go and they play Gears of War. They never had an Xbox 360. And they're like, holy this is freaking amazing. And then they see a kart racer with Marcus Phoenix on there. And they're like, are you kidding me? I can, so that's the correlation. I think that there is enough here potentially because of the third party aspect that you could in fact sell a game like this on other platforms because people are going to get hip to those racers and shooters and characters coming to PlayStation, coming to Xbox. Like there could be a Sea of Thieves level where I'm not saying you're driving on the water, but there could be tracks that the Kraken is like kind of moving its tentacles. You got to get out of the way. Like there's so much opportunity here. I wish they would bring me in just to pick my brain for a day. I'll fly out there on my own dollar to Seattle just to pitch the idea. Give me some sort of credits and let me be like a racer or something, like a boomstick racer. That'd be awesome. But again, let me just catch up. And we have another here. We have Pissed in the chat, who's been a channel member for a whopping 20 months. Pissed. Great to have you here, brother. And I got your name right finally, for the love of Joe. He says, whoop, whoop, made it live. Congrats on the Prestige 10. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I don't think I've Prestige 10 since like the Xbox 360. Honestly, it's been decades. I was never a Call of Duty guy after the 360. And now I don't have a lot of time. And when I don't have a lot of time, I just want to jump into something. I can get 4, 5, 6, 7 games in, do some like recording, like you're seeing. Like I recorded, I think yesterday, 5 hours of over the weekend, a total of 5 hours. An hour here, half an hour there. I merge everything together. It was great. I had a lot of fun. But thank you so much for that, Fuzzy Belvedere. I'm going to do a screen share, folks, and we got to talk about what's on Phil Spencer's shelf. Now, this is awesome. Let me bring this up right here. So I'm going to blow up the screen. Again, this is from Ecstasies, folks. So there you go. So hopefully you can see it. So I'm going to read verbatim from what you're seeing in front of you, folks. During a tour of the Xbox Gaming Labs, Phil Spencer showed off his office and his famous bookshelf. Might have been home to a Doom-themed controller design. Phil dropped it. There may be something we haven't announced yet. So I want to bring this up a little bit more and just put that up there. Now, it is a blurry image, but you're seeing what I'm seeing, folks. That is a freaking Doom controller. And look, let's be completely clear here. Nothing happens with Phil Spencer's shelf by accident. It just doesn't. He is the master manipulator, right? Phil, he has that smirk to him, and you know what's going on in his mind. He's like, I'm gonna I'm going to kind of let the cat out of the bag and see if anyone sees it. That is very hard to miss because literally the guy that did the interview, who was awesome, like, is this, am I getting warmer? And Phil Spencer's kind of laughing. He goes, yeah, you're getting a little warmer. And we do have something releasing that we have not announced for something else that's coming out later. Folks, here it is in front of you, the Doom controller. Now, again, in the past, Fuzzy Belvedere, this is not the biggest topic of the show, folks, but it's a fun one nonetheless. I have already lined up. I'm buying one. There's not a question. But here is the question: whether or not it is going to be like the Fallout one, where it was a Design Labs, which I think it is. I think that makes the most sense. Now we have seen controllers come away, and this one over here, I just regot. It's the prize and the jewel in the collection. Do you know how rare this freaking controller is, and how hard it is to find? I don't want to tell you that at some point in 2018, I sold a bunch of my stuff for some personal reasons, and I got rid of that controller. One of the worst mistakes I've ever done. And I just recently got it back. I'm not going to admit on the air how much I paid for that controller. It's not egregious by any stretch of the truth, but I'm a controller guy. Like I even have, and I don't have it here. I gotta get it. I gotta show it to you guys. You see this controller here? This is obviously the Starfield one. I have it in black. There was a black casing that they made that's literally identical to this, except it's just black, and it's awesome. Like it is freaking looks so pristine in that it's like I don't even say it's matted. It's got a nice shine to it. I think the kit on Amazon was like $16. I bought a controller brand new. I bought a regular black controller. I popped off the cover. I put it on there, and I got a freaking Starfield controller in black. Yes, please. That's awesome. So I'm a controller guy. So we saw what happened with controllers like Forza. For instance, Forza Horizon 5's controller is dope. So much so, Fuzzy. I don't know. I'm sure you have it.
Yeah.
I won't use it. I'm afraid that I'll get stick drift. I'm afraid that I'll wear it out. So I buy some of these things kind of just as, trophies, so to speak. And I have a nice rack of controllers here. I have a nice collection over here that you've seen when I take pictures. What I'm hoping what happens here is that this, in fact, is an Xbox Design Labs joint. And I say that because anyone that wants it should be able to get it. Now, these controllers, they're expensive. Obviously, they're minimum $70, maybe a little bit more. And when they come from Design Labs, they're a pinch more because obviously you are designing your controller. This might be because again, if you looked at what they did with something like the Fallout controller, the Fallout controller came in this preset and it looked great. I changed some things, like I changed the gold triggers and the gold bumpers to make it all match the style that I wanted it to look like, right? So everyone is going to have a different one. But Fuzzy Belvedere, Doom is coming out. It's going to be a big game. Let's call it spade a spade. It's probably going to be a game that's going to be up and running for Game of the Year. It looks amazing. I know there's been some pushback with the flying stuff and the use of the mechs. Listen, folks, you gotta do some different things. It can't be just ground pound shooting all the time. I love what they're doing. I'm very excited. I know some people like Skill Up weren't really happy with like the flying. I got Panzer Dragoon vibes, and I'm also a Sega nerd, so I appreciate it. But bringing it right back to the controller, folks, make no mistake, there's a Doom controller happening. This was not an accident. It's right in the middle of a shelf. If you look to the side, it's right in the freaking middle, right next to Kojima's statue. Let's break this down, bro. Are you a day one controller fan? Like, would you buy a Doom controller?
Me personally, no, but it's only because I restrict my controller buying to some extent, because there was a time where I was going for like the complete rainbow of the basic controllers and looking to do 3+ of the elite controllers. It's now down to 2 because the rubber grips don't last for me. But It's only because like I do have the Forza one. I do have the Starfield one. I what's the other actually? Well, I have my Scorpio one. I have um the original Elite controller, and then I have a duplicate of it with a green grips, green thumbsticks, and paddles and whatnot. So I have a few custom ones. Plus, I have my like matte gray one that matched my truck when I first got the my first Design Lab one, which now I have another matte gray car. So yeah, I have quite a few of them, but right now the Doom one is not as high on the list. But an Outer Worlds one for me would probably be high up on the list for me. But it's just because of how I'm coordinating my collection of them. Like I'm already at like 16 controllers now, so I don't want to really add too many more at this moment. But it is pretty cool. I hope they do, like you said, like with the Fallout setup where you can change some things, whether it be the thumbsticks or the bumpers and things like that, or have like several possible faceplate differences that they have. Like, because I think the Fallout had like two faceplate choices that you could go with.
Yes. Hmm.
But yeah, if they do it that way, which I'm so glad they finally listened on doing the Elite controllers in Design Labs as well. I hope that it's a Design Lab setup, so that way, one, you can make it your very own custom Doom
Yes.
controller, and two, the fact that it won't be scalpers out there trying to beat everybody to the punch, and then tripling the price, just for profits, I guess you could say. So yeah, but it's going to be cool when they release that, and Design Labs would be the perfect fit for that.
It absolutely would, and again, just because we're having some fun, like this just came in for me. Anyone is an OG Sega Saturn fan, like I imported it from Japan. I just got the replica. Um, yeah, this is dope. This works with the Switch, obviously, but I also got an 8-bit Ditto one as well for fighters on the Xbox, which is pretty dope. And I'm a controller guy. Like I know I only have two hands, right? I'm being fair here, but I do like controllers, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Hey, Z Black Rider in the chat. What's up, brother? Great to see you here. He says, "Yo, Double Barrel Gaming, send me a pillow." I wish I had the money to give everybody a pillow, brother. We know we're still mom and pop. When we get syndicated and maybe we get purchased or acquired by Microsoft, I will send you. You're the first one I'll send the pillow to, brother. Don't worry about it. So Microsoft, let's have some conversations. You can acquire Double Barrel Gaming anytime you want. But all right. So again, this not the biggest story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, but a fun one nonetheless. I'm very excited for Doom. Um, I I think when I look back at the first two Dooms, I like the 2016 one better. Because it didn't have as much platforming. The platforming in the second one was, man, it was good. It was okay, but there were some instances where I died. Like this one particular board, my God, and the DLC, I died like 79 times before I finally got. I was like, this is ridiculous. So I'm glad that they're going back to what made Doom 2016 so good. I understand this. There's some flying. I get it. There's use of a mech. I don't know why anyone would think that was not cool. You're driving a kaiju-sized freaking mech. I mean, of course I want to play that. So I'm very excited. And I'm also very excited for this silly controller. I mean, obviously, again, for me, I do hope that it is Design Labs, and not because I want to design my own controller. When it's a part of Design Labs, it's much easier for people to get their hands on it. And one of the things we've seen is, nobody wants to pay scalper prices, right? So if you can just make your own and buy it from Design Labs, and everybody gets their controller, that's awesome. But we will definitely see. Let me just bring back the Call of Duty footage, ladies and gentlemen. And well, let me just bring us back here so you can get a full screen of it. So Fuzzy Belvedere, I do want to just catch up on some super chats here. We have another channel member chat who's been a hell of a Julia, I think it's pronounced. I always get this name wrong. 43 months as a member, which is a very long time. And he never actually says anything. He just simply says, "Hey, I'm here. thank you so much for being a channel member. Again, we're such a small channel. We don't expect anything, but we try to do big things for our size. And especially like last year, we just finished doing our taxes and the giveaways, folks. I undershot it. We gave away $5,100 worth of prizes last year. That is a new high for the channel. And again, the support from channel memberships, from channel, the channel memberships that come in that are gifted, as well as super chats, they pay for all of that because there would be no way for that to come out of our pockets. Again, we're still such a small channel, but we just want to say a big thank you for everyone that has been a part of that. Because again, we were able to give away $5,100 worth of prizes, and that would not be possible without the generosity of you guys and gals. So thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. But Fuzzy Belvedere, we got to get into now. Let me just lower this and get back to topic number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, now look, there's been some talk in the chat about believing certain people in the industry with when it comes to grain of salt rumors. This Detective Seeds has been at the center of this. Now, Detective Seeds, if you don't know who he is a fine member of the gaming community. Now, I understand a lot of people don't like the guy because maybe he's too earnest, and more importantly, he's a PlayStation guy. And you know what? That's okay. Him and I do not agree on a lot of things, but I still think the same way he says about me. I think he's an excellent part of this community. And obviously, he was one of the first people to talk about the Oblivion leak. Now, I have it, folks, and I want this to be clear. I can corroborate exactly what Detective Seeves has said publicly. You know why that is? Because I spoke to 2 people who know not only what is happening, but can again corroborate what Seeds is saying. Now, I don't know if it's the same connection that he has. He has a lot of connections, especially when it comes to Sony. But I have a few inside sources as well from Microsoft. And again, for most of the stuff that I get, I don't talk about because it's not for me to talk about. I'm not a scooper. I'm not an insider. I'm a podcaster. But when there's a particular subject that I get excited about and I'm given permission to discuss, well, I talk about it. An Oblivion Remake is one of them. I've been talking about this for weeks. I've done videos on it. I've done podcasts surrounding it. It is happening. And the rumor is that obviously it's releasing. Now, I don't know, even Detective Seeds, he said himself, he originally thought it was going to release last week, did reiterate that could be happening in the next 2 weeks. I have heard that it could come as soon as this week. That is what my source is telling me. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. But I can say, and I want this to be perfectly clear. You have to understand, by putting ourselves out here, right? We don't have to do that for anyone, but we do it for the community because we love gaming and we love the excitement that these kind of leaks bring to the podcasts and to the engagement as well as the conversation with the community. It's fun. And that's why we always say, take it with a grain of salt. You've never heard me say, lock it in, such and such is happening, because nothing is stuck in glue. Things can change. Just like there was supposed to be a reveal at GDC with the new Xbox Asus handheld. Well, that got pulled. And I had a lot of people adding me, oh, see, Boom was wrong again. Well, my source told me that it was going to be there and it wasn't. Oh, okay. That these things happen. I mean, sue me. What can I tell you? But I do have a story here from insidergaming.com. It was written by Grant Taylor Hill, posted, ladies and gentlemen, on April 6th. And it says this: Oblivion Remake could be released tomorrow, it's claimed. Update again. Now, of course, I want to just get into it. Now, the update on 4.4, obviously, it wasn't released, which is originally what we thought was going to happen. Well, they have an update here for 4.5 and for 4.6. Of course, that's April 5th and April 6th for anyone that wants it explained. It goes on to say, Fuzzy, it still hasn't been released, but an update has been made to Oblivion's Game of the Year edition on Steam, with Bethesda Game Studios having removed all of its trailers related to the game. This is a common step before a remaster or a remake is revealed and the trailers are replaced. You heard that live here, folks. That is standard fare. But here is another update from 4.6. And it goes on to say this: the insider who made the original claim has owned an initial timeline slip claiming that multiple sources have now corroborated a release window starting the week of April 21st. It has been claimed that the Oblivion remake will be released after the ESO anniversary event ends. The insider has claimed they're highly confident about this claim. Now, again, folks, this is all take a grain with salt, but let's just be clear here. It was originally presented as a shadow drop. Now, some people in the chat, we don't do the names here, so they're entitled to their opinion, didn't think that it made sense for a shadow drop, and okay, if that's fine if you believe so. But Ninja Gaiden 2 Black was a shadow drop. Yes, that was after an event, but it was still a shadow drop nonetheless. Now, according to update on 4.6, it's saying that there is going to be an ESO, which of course is Elder Scrolls Online anniversary event. That makes perfect sense. So if I was a betting kind of a guy, that I would say that at the end or even during some point at that event, they're going to announce and then shadow drop the Oblivion remake, which is explained to be a full from the ground up remake in Unreal Engine 5, the same way that happened with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. So, Fuzzy, we got to get into this. This is big. I've said this before. I will say it again. Oblivion is my favorite RPG of all freaking time. I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours playing this game, who got turned into a vampire and could not figure out how to unvampire myself. And, of course, that particular game is one of the most infamous games of the Xbox 360 era because it introduced horse armor, which I bought right here. I'm part of the problem. I probably have ruined the world by buying that horse armor the second it became available. They got my $5. And I know you're laughing there, Fuzzy. I'm not looking at the screen, but I know you're laughing. Yes, folks, I'm a part of the problem. This is exciting because this comes on the heels of a year where RPGs seem to be reigning supreme. Avowed is going to be in the Game of the Year conversation when we get to that part of 2025. It is an outstanding tale. Okay, you have the Outer Worlds, one that you're very much looking forward to. The Outer Worlds 2 is going to be amazing. And again, if you just look at what they did from Outer Worlds 1 to what they're eventually going to do with Outer Worlds 2, it is going to be a massive step up, right?
Yeah.
And now you have the OG of them all, Oblivion, getting remade from the ground up, Unreal Engine 5. Brother, we got to talk about this. Again, it makes sense that the quote-unquote shadow drop happens on the 21st. Again, I heard that it could come as soon as this week. Take that with a grain of salt, folks. But now, reading this update live on the air, it makes sense that they kind of hold that and they wait for the ESO event. That seems like almost a lock, in my opinion. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the update or the reboot basically looks like in Unreal Engine 5. Like that, I think is the biggest takeaway. Like taking a beloved game and then updating the visuals on a game that's more than 5 years old. No shade, not really anyway. but yeah.
But it makes sense. Again, the game's how old? Can anyone actually tell me? What is it? 15 years old? I mean, it's old.
Up there. Yeah. So it unlike some other areas where remakes are less than 5 years old, it's nice to see that this one, like I said, a beloved IP, gets a refresh or a new coat of paint in Unreal Engine 5. I want to see what these visuals look like. Like we've seen some of the fan made stuff in other Bethesda games. So seeing this one from them and it being something that's day and date and Game Pass for those that at least want to give it a try, see what a modern looking Oblivion would look like. Yeah, I hope like if they save it for the ESO event, that probably makes the most sense. But it's hard to say with Xbox these days, just for the fact that they could make it a and Twitter announcement kind of thing, and
Yes,
I
they
don't think
could.
people would bat an eye as far as like they would just be like, wow, another game, because it seems like every week there's something that they wind up adding to Game Pass, whether it's a nice third party first day and date type of deal, or it's a uh, like a major update to a first party title, or it's one of their first party titles that we've been looking forward to, or even third party titles that we've been looking forward to. Like this month has already been pretty packed, and it's going to wind up being more so that before this month is out and leading into May, and you have the June showcase right around the corner. Yeah, I could definitely see them either doing a Twitter announcement this week or saving it for the ESO deal. I know that there's supposed to be some sort of partnered event at some point. I think that's where we hear about Square Enix. So the whole Square Enix thing is still looming in the near future as well. But Oblivion, Unreal Engine 5, in an ESO event, or just Twitter, hey, it's in Game Pass, check it out. I think it's I won't say it's going to overwhelm gamers, but there's going to be quite a few people that are RPG fans that are definitely going to want to dive into that and see what the new coat of paint looks like, and hopefully that kind of holds them over until Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. But we'll see if that's able to be that gap in between. But for the most part, looking forward to this, as well as another collection or remake that we are hearing in the background. Will probably be released at some point this year, or switch spots with E-Day type of deal. But yeah,
Yeah.
Xbox is definitely cooking this year. Like, if anybody had any doubt as far as them having games, you should have lost that doubt, before the end of January, to be honest. But yeah, it's great to hear that some where there's smoke, there's fire, and removing stuff as far as some of the pages and things like that. Typically, what they do before an update
Yes.
makes total sense, and that's if anything, I would say that's probably the biggest sign moving forward. So yeah.
Again, folks, this is take it with a grain of salt. Uh, but I can corroborate what Detective C's said. Again, maybe this week, maybe it's ESO, but Fuzzy's onto something. Xbox literally has so much cooking, and they have so many games releasing this year that they could, on a Twitter post, like an Xbox Wire post, hey, available today. Now I know somebody said something in here. What is it? What was it? Was it one terrible? It was a funny one. Somebody actually had said that they should delay it, like the PS3 version. Remember, the PS3 version was delayed. This will probably come out, and because ESO is available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, it's probably going to be a universal release, and it makes sense because they're going to want to make money on this. I don't know how much they spent, but it's probably a pretty penny if you consider that it's not a remaster. It is literally, at least has the rumor explained as a from the ground up Unreal Engine 5 release. That's what they did with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, right? We saw how that turned out. It was gorgeous, right? Ran really good. That's what they're supposedly doing with Gears of War, the Marcus Phoenix collection, or the trilogy, however you want to put it. I mean, this is just another game that could be released this year that's not something that we already know. We already know that they have a ton of stuff coming out, and it's going to be a banger of a year for Xbox. And again, it just every year they go by, and I don't know, your mileage is going to vary. What they did in 23 versus the other guys, and what they did in 24 versus the other guys. I thought they had a great 23, a great 24. They're going to have a massive 2025. And Fuzzy, 2026 looks to be redonkulous. I mean, it's just, again, we're going to see what I'm hoping for, honestly, from this is I know we all want the Elder Scrolls 6, and I can't wait for them to get working on it. But I'm going to be honest, if this Oblivion as good as they are suggesting that it's going to be, I would love for them to take Skyrim and do the same thing. Like I know that people are gonna be like, no, boom, don't do it. I get it. And I don't think it's the same team working on it. I think they probably outsourced it. And if they did, if this winds up being as amazing as I think and pray to the gaming gods that it's gonna be, I freaking hope that they would do this with Skyrim. That would be freaking amazing. But look, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the 110, the 1 minute, 1 hour and 8 minutes. Yeah, that's usually around the length of the show, 70-ish minutes. I do got to catch up on super chats, and then we'll get everyone out of here. And of course, we'll be back here tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the new Xbox Factor podcast. And of course, every day this week, we're going to have a new episode. Wednesday night, King David is going to be joining us. I don't specifically know. I'm sure we're going to be talking Nintendo at some point because, there's still a lot to get into. But King David will be joining us Wednesday evening. Okami_13 is going to be joining me at some point this week or next week. We're going to find out when he's going to pop on. But let me just catch up on these super chats. And we have quite a few gifted memberships. So, of course, I want to just start out by saying, honestly, this is just amazing. Mrs. Boom and I are incredibly grateful for all of this generosity. Nino Vestic, our generous friend, all the way from Hawaii. Aloha to you and the family, brother. Hopefully you have beautiful weather out there and that surrounded by that very beautiful blue water. He has gifted 1 double barrel gaming memberships as he has done numerous times before. So, Nino, thank you so much for the generosity. And of course, not to be outdone, Eris_EMS has gifted 10 double barrel gaming memberships. Eris, that is very kind of you. We really cannot thank you, everyone, for the generosity, whether it be 1 membership or 10. This really does go a long way for us. And again, it being such a small channel, we are incredibly grateful because it does allow for us to give back in a big way. And Mrs. Boom, honestly, and I love doing it for people because, again, some of the stories, some of the messages that we got on past winners, they hit you in the heartstrings, man. And it means that we're doing the right thing, that we're really pushing the envelope forward about giving back. And that's super important to us. And we can't do that without the help. So thank you so much for allowing us to give back to this community. We have Game Seeker, who has gifted 1 double barrel gaming membership. Game Seeker, great to see you here, brother. And thank you very much for the generosity. And Quan the Terrible. Quan, what's going on, brother? He has become a channel member once again. Quan, that is very kind of you, brother. We super appreciate it. But look, again, that's going to do it for us here. Hopefully, you had as much fun as we did. And I know that the opening topic was a little bit long. And that's, listen, maybe a kart racer isn't your bag, but I'm trying to will these things into existence. Like, I want a Banjo-Kazooie game. I know that the Banjo Bros, we're kind of dying out like the dinosaurs. I know right now it's me and Paris. Paris, if you're listening, brother, I'm fighting a good fight. Stand side by side by me. You're a big man. We gotta get some more Banjo Bros onto our side. And of course, we do this for fun. And the other thing I'm hoping that it's this year. My God. If you're listening, gaming gods, we need a Killer Instinct 2. It's time. Everyone has released a new game. We need a new Killer Instinct 2. Let's hope that they're working on it. We'll see. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand, but not just your brand, brother. We got to sell the Mrs. brand as well. And of course, folks, the goal of 2025 for Fuzzy, at least for me, as a brother to Fuzzy Belvedere, is to get his channel to 1K. And I'd like you to drop the link in the chat. Please, folks, let's help him at least get to 500. He's an amazing part of this community. He's on a lot of people's podcasts, 2 the syndicated shows podcast per week. We'd love to see him get his channel, partnered, and how we can do that is with your help, folks. Subscribe to Fuzzy Belvedere's channel. It is the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre. And of course, it doesn't just stop there, because the wife, his missus, has a horror podcast Friday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, called Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. I'd like you guys and gals to get over there, support both of them. They're amazing members of the community, and we'd love to see their channels grow. Fuzzy, sell the brand, brother. Where could people help you guys get to the promised land, which getting to 1K for both your channels, and more importantly, follow you guys on social media?
Well, as always, thank you for having me on. I always appreciate doing this on Monday afternoons, and catching some of the breaking news and just talking about the gaming industry in general, and interacting with the chat. Greatly appreciate you guys coming to check us out. Don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. I put the links in for both my YouTube as well as my wife's YouTube. This Friday, we will be discussing. Now, it's probably going to seem like we're punking you with this movie choice, but there was some inner disputes, but discussion as far as like a kind of a quirky movie to pick. And the movie this Friday is going to be Troll 2, Troll Singular 2. It is a part 2 to a kind of wacky first troll movie, and the second one is even wackier. So yeah, definitely hang out. I'll put it this way: we'll probably have some Mystery Theater 3000 type vibes going into this, because it's that kind of movie. There is a cult following for the movie, but yeah, it's going to be a fun one to hang out in the chat and hear our discussions on it. But as always, play some games, enjoy the hobby, try not to look at your 401ks too much.
Don't
Hopefully,
do that.
hopefully things level out. It looks like things are up for negotiation. So
Yes.
try your best to drown out the noise with what you enjoy with gaming or horror movies. There's plenty out there to participate in. So take care, and hope to see you guys Friday morning for Breakfast with Boom. Love to see you there.
Thank you so much. Creative Monster asked a question: how many to get partnered? You got to hit 1K. You have to have 1,000 subscribers, and you have to have 4,000 hours of watch time. So you kind of need both. We've been there for a long time. Fuzzy's working on his. The missus is working on his. You keep doing the podcast. You keep doing the videos. You eventually get to the 4,000 viewed hours, and as well, of course, subs make a big difference. So, of course, if you're not already subbed, please subscribe. We have a couple of points of contention here. I think it was Chris Jones says that movie Troll 1 was the worst of all time. When I saw it, it was actually like a found footage, right? That's how it really was. We saw it. It was actually not terrible. It was like, it's definitely like a B movie for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for, I didn't know there was a Troll 2. I want to see it. Mrs. Boom's going to want to see it as well. So we'll definitely check that out. But ladies and gentlemen, again, if you had fun with the conversation, whether it be about the controller, about the kart racer, or more importantly, about the Oblivion remake, hit the like button, share this on social media if you're feeling super generous. And of course, before you get out of here, if you're not already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Mrs. Boom and I, we're officially, I want to say it's like 178 away from 16K, folks. We're super freaking close. We're at, and it would be really cool to get there. I mean, at some point, just on attrition, we'll get there. But to get there before June would be a really big deal for us. Because again, you got to remember, when we go and we put ourselves that we want to, attend these events, one of the biggest questions that ask is, well, how many views does your channel have? Now, thankfully, we're closing on an 8 million views, which it's insane to even consider that. But they also ask about subs. I know subs may not matter for a lot of people, and we try not to, harp on it, but the more subs you have, the more things you get invited to. So that's why we keep, we keep doing our thing. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all of the super chats, as well as the donated memberships. Mrs. Boom and I, again, are very grateful for it. And I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.